is Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 29th. A Texas judge has refused to dismiss the abuse of power case against former Governor Rick Perry. The legal team defending Perry argued the law was applied unconstitutionally and the indictment should be thrown out. In the ruling, the judge noted 3 points. First, the state law does not allow a judge to determine constitutionality at this point in the legal process. The indictment process must be amended to properly address a concern raised by the defense, and one of the felony charges should be reduced to a misdemeanor. This abuse of power charge stems from Perry's refusal to give $7.5 million to a program run by Travis County DA Rosemary Lemberg. Lemberg was arrested on drunk driving charges, and Perry used his constitutionally authorized veto power to pressure her to resign. Lemberg did not. New Governor Greg Abbott immediately released a statement on the ruling, calling Perry's indictment outrageous and inappropriate. California Senator Mark Leno has sponsored a bill that would treat e-cigarettes no differently from regular tobacco cigarettes in the state of California, effectively forbidding them in workplaces, hospitals, bars, public transit, and schools. In a press release, Leno said, quote, "Like traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes deliver nicotine and a cloud of other toxic chemicals, and their use should be restricted equally under state law in order to protect public health. While the health risks of traditional cigarettes are well documented, there is not similar information about e-cigarettes. And a study from the University of California noted it is not clear if e-cigarettes have toxicity similar to that of the conventional cigarette smoke. A spokesman for the e-cigarette industry said the bill threatened a product that has helped many smokers quit a harmful habit." Cuban President Raul Castro has given a list of demands to the United States ahead of any talks to normalize relations between the two nations. One of the demands includes returning Guantanamo Bay to Cuba. Other demands called for the U.S. to stop supporting dissidents of the Cuban government, remove Cuba from the list of state sponsors of terror, and to stop broadcasting anti-Castro radio and television. Castro said absent any resolutions to these problems, diplomatic efforts between the U.S. and Cuba would be meaningless. The United States State Department has yet to respond to the demands. And a California high school is a subject of parental outrage after Planned Parenthood sent 2 sex ed instructors to Acalanes Union High School. Parents demanded the curriculum be made available for viewing and parental approval, along with the employment background of the instructors. The 2 instructors had questionable side jobs. One led adult toy workshops, and the other is a self-described, quote, pleasure activist. One angry parent said Planned Parenthood is, quote, a business. It's a business that sells sex. It's a way to get clientele and sexualize young people. Outraged parents hired conservative legal firm, the Pacific Justice Institute, to petition the school for a new curriculum. The school released a statement informing parents the 2 instructors would no longer be teaching the course. This has been Amy Curtis with your Vigilant Liberty Radio News from Independent Journal Review for January 29th.
VLR.
This show is produced by IJReview.com.
This show is copyright by VLR Media. All opinions of panelists and guests are their own and may not reflect the opinion of VLR Media, the host, or anyone else.
Let's be clear. There are no winners here. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. Now let's be clear. There are no winners here.
2 minds are better than one. Time for the right mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum.
Well, folks, welcome to the show. This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausum. This is host number 2, Michael Hausum. Hope you're having a great afternoon. Unless, of course, you're in the Western United States when you're still experiencing morning. If you'd like to call in for this next half hour, please do. 412-567-6879. Of course, you can also interact, banter with us, as many do, on Twitter at The Right Mics. Miller, good afternoon.
How's it going, dude?
It is going extremely well, thank you. I'm 4 double shots of espresso in this morning. Woke up a little bit tired.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, speaking of bantering, I'm sure we're gonna hear from Fitzgerald today. He's been going at it with a couple of my faves on a thread or two on my Facebook page. So
that's awesome.
I think Dan is raring to go. So anyway.
Oh, that's very funny.
Yeah. So what's going on?
You know, we were just listening to the news that we're negotiating with Cuba.
Mm-hmm.
At the top of the hour there, that news thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I guess one of the things that Castro wants us to leave Gitmo, I guess.
I'm shocked, aren't you?
Yeah, you know, here's the thing is, if I were Raul Castro or his advisors, and I was just, you know, doing a little bit of Google research on my adversary's negotiating abilities and negotiating tactics, in this case, Obama, what I would decide is that if I just sat there doing nothing, at some point, not only would I be offered everything I could possibly want, I would be offered things I couldn't even dream of wanting.
Well, there's no question. You know, as that meme or you know, the line that floats around Obama, picture of Obama, we don't negotiate with terrorists. And then the second line, we just give them everything they want. So all he has to do is sit back and have Guantanamo handed to him on a silver platter. Hell, Obama will probably try to throw in some reparations of some sort as well, just to get Raul to start talking.
I would think at some point, if he just sits there long enough, Obama's going to propose dragging Cuba from the Gulf to, you know, sidle up next to Florida and offer to make it state number 58.
There we go. I mean, and then there's 58. That's exactly right. I wonder what the other 7 are. He never did explain that. But no, and I think I was telling you just kind of a little bit of trivia. We were talking about Guantanamo before I came on. But the U.S. for years has sent lease checks, if you will, to Cuba. Castro never cashed one of them. So I'm sure Obama will get to work on that, you know, making him feel comfortable with go ahead and cash in those checks. And, of course, we'll give you interest because you did not have access to the money, you know, for 50 years or more. So, yeah, this is just who this guy is. And to your point, I mean, why wouldn't Castro? You just look at Iran, you look at Putin, you look at al-Assad, and why al-Assad? Why would you not just sit there and play hardball with him?
Yeah.
You got nothing, right? Yeah, exactly.
No.
And Obama being the foreign policy genius that he is, and he, you know, he's just very, you know, everything he says comes true. Listen, just off the top of my head, I do happen to have a clip in my back pocket here. This is a mashup from Washington Free Beacon. This is Obama through the years making his foreign policy pronouncements, and then what Free Beacon does hilariously is mixes in reality. And you need to see this, by the way, and we should probably, Michael, put this up on our website later, because this is one that it's good to be seen, but it's even good to be listened to. So, Jessica, let's roll that awesome footage, shall we?
The strategy of taking out terrorists who threaten us while supporting partners on the front lines is one that we have successfully pursued in Yemen and Somalia for years.
The U.S. Embassy in Yemen closed to the public as unrest roiled that Arab nation.
We're upholding the principle that bigger nations can't bully the small by opposing Russian aggression and supporting Ukraine's democracy.
At least 30 people were killed, including 2 children. Ukraine says Russian-backed rebels are responsible.
We're also supporting a moderate opposition in Syria that can help us in this effort. With respect to Syria, it's always been a fantasy, this idea that we could provide some light arms or even more sophisticated arms. I call on this Congress to show the world that we are united in this mission by passing a resolution to authorize the use of force against ISIL.
If a JV team puts on a Lakers uniform, that doesn't make them Kobe Bryant.
From Tripoli to Misrata to Benghazi, today Libya is free.
Fiery wreckage of the U.S. consulate in the city of Benghazi.
The evacuation of the U.S. Embassy in Libya due to increased militia violence in recent days.
You can't just make stuff up. That's one thing you learn as President of the United States.
You can't just make stuff up.
No, so I'm pretty much guessing that Guantanamo is going to be a piece of cake for Raul.
Oh my gosh. I mean, yeah, absolutely.
So, I don't know. There we go. 2 more years, brother.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, so another thing, this actually is a topic not only particularly near and dear to my heart. It was my article. Did you hear that bit about California banning e-cigarettes?
I did, and I'm looking at your link as we speak on IJR.
Yeah, folks. So here's the deal. This one up yesterday. California may ban e-cigarettes, but does their reason make sense? And as California State Senator, what city would you guess, Mike, just for fun, without looking at the thing, because I think I say it in here, what city do you think a state senator would be from that's proposing a ban like this?
Well, I always, and I promise I have not looked, but whenever you want to go to the top of the moon bat list in California, my number one guess is always San Francisco.
You're exactly
Am
right.
I? Really?
Yeah, Jessica just said Santa Cruz, which would be number 2. Yeah, the 4 city. Yeah, there are probably 5 cities in California that immediately would come to mind: San Francisco, Santa Cruz, Santa Barbara, Santa Monica, and Venice. Coming down the state, those would be the 5 cities.
Okay.
So, yeah, here's the deal: is that they're going to effectively treat. This guy's proposing that they effectively treat e-cigarettes as no different from regular analog tobacco cigarettes. They'd be subjected to the same anti-smoking laws. So you could forbid, vaping e-cigarettes in workplaces, restaurants, bars, hospitals, public transit, and schools. Here's what the guy said. No tobacco product should be exempt from California's smoke-free laws simply because it's sold in a modern or trendy disguise. Addiction is what's really being sold. Like traditional cigarettes, e-cigarettes deliver nicotine in a cloud of other toxic chemicals, and their use should be restricted equally under state law in order to protect public health.
Mm-hmm. Well, listen, let me. I think I've told you before. Not only have I never smoked, I've never even taken a puff off a cigarette. Okay, so this question is in that context because obviously I haven't paid attention to this whole e-cigarette phenomenon. Can you explain to me? I mean, I know what they are, but what are they made up of? I mean, what do they do that regular cigarettes don't do, and why are they so popular?
All right. Well, what I will do is I'll describe to you the e-cigarette I'm holding right now in my right hand.
Wow.
Basically, what they are is there's several different types of devices. Like the one that's in this picture is a type of e-cigarette. There are some other e-cigarettes that literally look just like regular cigarettes, right? You've probably seen those. The one that I'm holding is a little bit, as you would guess, more complicated and advanced than the one that's even in that picture.
Of course
But basically what it is it takes a solution, which is usually water and other liquids and usually flavorings, and it runs an electrical charge through it to make a water vapor. Very much like a it's very much like what they use to create smoke on the side of a concert hall or something.
Sure. Okay. So nicotine, I'm guessing.
Well, there's nicotine in them, and most e-cigarettes you can choose the nicotine level, but you can get it. You can get the vapor liquid with no nicotine at all.
Which would serve what purpose?
Then you're just kind of playing with the smoke like you're kind of like you're smoking, essentially breathing vapor in and exhaling it, but